Commander Ilara Vex stared through the viewport at the blue-green planet below. Earth looked peaceful from orbit, its oceans glimmering in the sunlight, white clouds swirling across continents that had once bustled with human activity. Now, 150 years after the Great Exodus, the birthplace of humanity appeared still and quiet. "Routine inspection complete, Commander," said Lieutenant Zorn, his scaled fingers tapping on the control panel. "All monitoring satellites functioning within normal parameters." Ilara nodded, her silver eyes never leaving the view of Earth. As a Centaurian, she found humans fascinating, their brief lives burning so bright before fading away. Now their homeworld stood as a monument to their greatest failure and their final desperate act, the evacuation of Earth. "Any unusual readings?" she asked, following protocol even though these inspections never yielded anything interesting. "Nothing significant," Zorn replied. "Same as the last 30 quarterly inspections." The Galactic Confederacy maintained these orbital stations more out of respect than necessity. Earth was classified as a recovery zone, left to heal itself after centuries of exploitation. Most believed it would be millennia before the planet could support complex life again. That's why humans had fled to the stars, establishing colonies across the galaxy, becoming nomads among the cosmic community. "Commander," a quiet voice spoke from behind her. "May I have a moment at the viewport?" Ilara turned to see Paul Matthews, the only human aboard their vessel. His presence was a formality. Each inspection team was required to have at least one human consultant, though fewer humans volunteered for Earth duty every year. Most preferred to forget their ancestral home and its painful history. "Of course, Mr. Matthews." She stepped aside, watching as the human approached the glass. Paul was young for his position, barely 40 standard years. Like most colony-born humans, he had never set foot on Earth. To him it was just a story, a distant myth of origin that held little relevance to his life among the stars. "It's strange," he said, pressing his palm against the cool surface of the viewport. "To think that everything my species built began down there. And now it's empty." Ilara kept her thoughts to herself. The Centaurian Science Academy had theories about Earth that contradicted official Confederacy records. Some believed pockets of humans might have remained behind, hiding in bunkers or remote regions, but searches had found nothing, and after 50 years the official narrative hardened. Earth was abandoned, its people scattered across hundreds of worlds and stations. "Sir," called the sensor operator, a young Aquarian whose gills fluttered nervously. "I'm picking up some unusual energy fluctuations from the surface." Paul laughed softly. "It's probably just the old monitoring equipment. These stations haven't been properly upgraded in decades." Ilara moved to the control panel. "Location of the readings?" "Multiple points, Commander. Strongest around the regions formerly known as North America and East Asia." Paul leaned over the console, frowning at the data. "Could be geothermal activity. Earth was always volcanically active." "For 150 years, nothing," Ilara mused. "And now energy readings appear just as we're conducting our inspection. Run a diagnostic on the equipment." The crew worked efficiently, checking and rechecking systems while Ilara filed her preliminary report. These monitoring missions were typically uneventful: a quick orbital pass, system checks, and departure. The Confederacy maintained minimal interest in Earth beyond ensuring no unauthorized salvage operations breached the planet's quarantine. "Diagnostic complete," Lieutenant Zorn announced after several minutes. "All systems functioning properly." Ilara frowned. "Send a probe for atmospheric sampling. Let's be thorough." Paul stepped away from the viewport, crossing his arms. "Commander, with all due respect, we're already behind schedule. The treaty only requires visual confirmation that the quarantine remains intact. We've done that." "I'm aware of our requirements, Mr. Matthews," Ilara replied calmly. "But my instincts tell me something isn't right." The probe launched smoothly, descending through Earth's atmosphere in a controlled arc. The crew watched as data streamed back: atmospheric composition, radiation levels, surface temperature. "Results normal for a recovery planet," the science officer reported. Oxygen levels higher than previous readings, carbon dioxide lower. Consistent with ongoing ecological recovery. Paul nodded, satisfied. See, the planet is healing itself just as expected. Earth is doing fine without us. Ilara wasn't convinced. During her 20 years of service, she had developed a sense for when things were off. The energy readings troubled her, but she knew the bureaucracy wouldn't approve an extended investigation without substantial evidence. Very well. Prepare for departure, she ordered finally. Mark in the log that we detected anomalous energy signatures and recommend increased monitoring frequency. The crew began pre-departure procedures as Ilara took one last look at the planet. Once it had been the center of human civilization, billions of people living across its surface, building cities that reached the sky, creating art and music and war. Now it hung silent in space, a blue jewel abandoned by its children, or so everyone believed. As their ship executed its departure sequence, the alarm system suddenly blazed to life. Multiple energy spikes detected, shouted the sensor operator.
Massive power signatures activating across the planet's surface. The view screens filled with data as dormant systems across Earth suddenly came online.
Buried power sources that had remained hidden from orbital scans for generations were awakening, sending pulses of energy through the ground. That's impossible, Paul whispered, his face pale as he stared at the readings. There's nothing down there. Earth is dead. Ilara gripped the console, watching as the blue planet beneath them seemed to shudder with renewed life. Send an emergency communication to Confederacy headquarters. Priority 1. What's the message, Commander? Asked the communications officer. Ilara's silver eyes reflected the glow of the screens, showing Earth's unexpected awakening. Tell them we were wrong. Earth is not abandoned. Recommend immediate diplomatic mission. Paul pressed against the viewport, again, watching in awe as pinpricks of light became visible on the night side of the planet, patterns too regular to be natural phenomena. All this time, he murmured. They were there all along. As their ship pulled away from orbit, Earth continued its silent revolution around the sun, but it was no longer a memorial to humanity's past. It was something else entirely. A mystery, a revelation, and perhaps a warning to the galaxy that had written humans off too soon. The news spread quickly through the Galactic Confederacy. After 150 years of silence, Earth had shown signs of life. Not the expected natural recovery of plants and animals, but something far more intriguing. Evidence of technology and organized energy use. The implications were clear. Either humans had never fully left their homeworld, or someone else had moved in. Dr. Krill adjusted his breathing apparatus as he studied the mission briefing. As the Confederacy's leading xenobiologist, the amphibious Aquarian had been the obvious choice to lead the research expedition. His webbed fingers scrolled through pages of data from Commander Vex's report. The energy signatures are consistent with advanced fusion technology, he said to the assembled team in the briefing room. But hidden somehow, shielded from our standard scans until now. Catherine Grant watched the alien scientist with skeptical eyes. As one of the few human experts on old Earth culture, she had been pulled from her university position for this mission. At 34, she was considered young for such an important assignment, but her knowledge of Earth's final days was unmatched. If people remained on Earth, why stay hidden for so long? She asked. And why reveal themselves now? Dr. Krill's gill slits pulsed as he considered her question. Perhaps it was not intentional. Commander Vex's report indicates the energy signatures appeared suddenly as if activated by some trigger. The research vessel Curiosity approached Earth's orbit 3 days later. Unlike the small inspection craft that normally visited, this ship carried a full scientific team and diplomatic corps. Catherine stood at the viewport, gazing down at her ancestral home. Though born on Alpha Centauri's main colony, she had dedicated her life to studying Earth. Now she would finally see it up close. Beautiful, isn't it? Said Alan Cooper, the team's communications specialist. Hard to believe our ancestors abandoned something so perfect. Catherine frowned. They didn't have a choice. The climate collapse, the resource wars. Earth was dying. That's the official story, Alan replied with a shrug. But you've questioned that narrative in your research, haven't you, Professor Grant? Before she could respond, the ship's alarms activated. Red lights flashed throughout the corridor. Unidentified energy barrier detected, announced the ship's AI. Defensive protocols engaging. Catherine rushed to the bridge where Dr. Krill and the ship's captain were already assessing the situation. A holographic display showed their vessel surrounded by a shimmering field of energy that hadn't been there moments before. It's some kind of defensive shield, said the captain. It just appeared out of nowhere. Dr. Krill studied the readings with wide amphibian eyes. Fascinating. The technology is unlike anything in our databases. It's not attacking, Catherine observed. It's just containing us. As if in response to her words, a communication channel opened. The bridge crew fell silent as static filled the speakers, gradually resolving into words. Unidentified vessel, said a calm, clear voice in an oddly accented version of English. You have entered restricted airspace. Identify yourselves and state your purpose. The communications officer looked to the captain, who nodded. This is the Galactic Confederacy, research vessel Curiosity. We are on a peaceful mission of scientific inquiry. There was a long pause. Catherine held her breath, watching the energy field that surrounded their ship. It pulsed gently, like something alive. Prepare to receive coordinates for approved landing, the voice finally replied. You may send a team of no more than 5 individuals. Weapons will not be permitted. Dr. Krill turned to Catherine. Professor Grant, it seems your expertise will be needed sooner than expected. The landing party assembled in the shuttle bay. Dr. Krill, Catherine, 2 security officers, and a diplomatic representative named Jacob Miller. As they prepared for descent, Catherine felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The history books might need to be rewritten after today. Their shuttle passed through the energy barrier without incident, guided by the mysterious coordinates. Below them, the landscape of North America came into view. Catherine had studied countless images of Earth's final days, the vast urban sprawls, the drought-stricken farmlands, the rising seas that had claimed coastal cities. But what she saw now was different. The land is green, she whispered, pressing her face to the viewport. Where there should have been desert and ruin, forests stretched to the horizon, lakes glittered in the sunlight, and rivers wound through valleys that historical records claimed had been barren for centuries. The shuttle followed the coordinates to a range of mountains once called the Rockies. As they descended, a section of the mountainside shimmered and disappeared, revealing a massive hangar carved into the rock itself. Optical camouflage, said one of the security officers. Very advanced. Their shuttle landed smoothly inside the mountain. As the engines powered down, Catherine realized she was about to set foot on Earth, the first planet of humanity, thought to be abandoned generations ago. Her hands trembled slightly as she secured her equipment. The shuttle door opened with a hiss and they stepped out into the hangar. The air was cool and fresh without the need for filtration. A group of people waited for them near a set of large doors, people who looked entirely human. A tall man with dark skin and gray at his temples stepped forward. Welcome to Earth, he said. My name is John Reynolds. I represent the Earthkeepers. Catherine stared at him in shock. Earthkeepers was a term from old conspiracy theories, stories about secret societies that had supposedly stayed behind when the rest of humanity fled. The academic community had dismissed such tales as fantasy. This is impossible, she said. Historical records clearly show that Earth was evacuated. The environmental collapse was real, John interrupted, but exaggerated in the records. That went to the colonies. Some of us chose to stay, to heal our world rather than abandon it. Dr. Krill moved forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his surprise. How many remained? Initially about 10 million spread across the globe, John replied. Now we number nearly 100 million. Jacob Miller, the diplomatic representative, finally found his voice. The Confederacy has monitored Earth for generations. How did you remain undetected? John smiled. We've had a lot of time to develop technology that would keep us hidden. Please follow me. There's much to explain. He led them through the massive doors and into a corridor that sloped downward into the mountain. As they walked, lighting panels activated automatically, illuminating their path. Catherine noticed the walls were not bare rock, but lined with a material she didn't recognize, something that seemed to pulse faintly with its own inner light. "Welcome to Denver, Ark," John said as they rounded a corner. Catherine gasped. Before them stretched an enormous underground city, a vast cavern, filled with buildings, gardens, and waterways. Thousands of people moved about their daily lives beneath artificial sunlight that streamed from the cavern ceiling. It was a hidden world, a secret civilization that had thrived while the galaxy believed humans had left Earth behind. "This is just one of many," John explained, watching their stunned faces. "We've been here all along, waiting for the right time to emerge, and now that time has come." Catherine walked slowly through the underground city, trying to take in everything at once. The buildings were unlike any human architecture she had studied, curved structures that seemed to grow from the cavern floor, made of materials that shimmered with an inner light. Plants and trees grew everywhere, integrated into the design rather than merely decorative. Water flowed in carefully planned channels, creating a pleasant background sound that echoed throughout the massive space. "How is this possible?" she asked John as he guided their small group through wide pathways. People stopped to stare at the visitors, especially at Dr. Krill, whose amphibian features drew curious looks from children. "When the evacuation began, not everyone wanted to leave," John explained. "A group of scientists, engineers, and environmental experts believed Earth could be saved. While most of humanity fled to the stars, we went underground." They entered a large circular building at the center of the city. Inside was a garden filled with plants Catherine recognized from her studies, species that should have gone extinct during Earth's collapse. A woman with dark hair streaked with silver stood waiting for them. She wore simple clothes of a deep green color, but carried herself with unmistakable authority. "Welcome to Earth," she said with a warm smile. "I am Olivia Martinez, elected leader of the North American Ark. We've been expecting you for quite some time." Dr. Krill's gills fluttered in surprise. "You knew we were coming?" Olivia nodded. "We've monitored Confederacy communications for decades. When your inspection ships began reporting anomalous readings, we knew it was time to reveal ourselves." Jacob Miller, the diplomatic representative, stepped forward. "The Galactic Confederacy extends formal greetings to your people. We have many questions about your existence here." "I'm sure you do," Olivia replied. "And we have much to share. Please, sit with us. We've prepared a meal." They were led to a table where various foods had been arranged: fresh fruits and vegetables, bread, and what appeared to be cultured proteins. Catherine noticed there was no meat, matching what historical records indicated about the final years of pre-Exodus Earth. As they ate, Olivia explained the history of the Earthkeepers. The ecological collapse was real, but not as total as the evacuation leaders claimed. They needed people to leave. Earth's resources were severely depleted, and they believed a complete human exodus was the only way for the planet to recover. "But some stayed behind," Catherine said. "Yes, about 10 million people worldwide refused to leave. We had already begun construction of the Arks, underground cities designed to be self-sustaining while the surface healed. The Exodus leadership eventually accepted our choice, though they insisted our existence be kept secret from those who left." Dr. Krill set down his specially prepared meal. "Why keep your existence hidden for so long? The Confederacy established Earth as a recovery zone, but we would have welcomed contact." Olivia's expression grew serious. "We needed time. Time to heal Earth. Time to develop our own path without interference. The early years were difficult. Many died. But we succeeded. The surface is now habitable again, and our technology has advanced in ways that might have been impossible if we had joined the galactic community." A tall man entered the room, his face stern as he studied the visitors. He wore what appeared to be a uniform of some kind, dark blue with silver accents. "This is William Carter," Olivia introduced him. He leads our security council. William nodded curtly. You should know that we've detected your main vessel attempting to scan our defensive systems. Please instruct them to stop. Our technology is not something we wish to share yet. Jacob looked surprised. I assure you, any scans are purely scientific in nature. Nevertheless, William replied, they will cease immediately. Catherine watched the exchange with growing unease. The Earthkeepers clearly had technology beyond what was known in the Confederacy. Earth should have been a recovering world, not one capable of energy shields that could contain a modern starship. You've been watching us all along, haven't you? She asked suddenly. The human colonies, the Confederacy. You've been monitoring everything. Olivia smiled. Yes, we have observation posts beyond Earth's orbit. Small, undetectable stations that relay information. We've followed humanity's journey among the stars with great interest. But you never made contact, Catherine said. It wasn't time, Olivia replied simply. Earth needed to heal first, and we needed to be sure of our path forward. William stepped closer to the table. The exodus was necessary, but it created two distinct human civilizations. Those who left evolved one way, while we evolved another. Our priorities are different. Dr. Krill's scientific curiosity was clearly piqued. How did you manage Earth's recovery? The damage was thought to be irreversible within any meaningful time frame. Olivia gestured to a young woman standing nearby. Mary Peterson heads our Environmental Sciences Division. She can explain better than I can. Mary approached, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. We developed what we call symbiotic nanotechnology, microscopic machines that work with nature rather than against it. They accelerated the restoration of soil, purified water, and helped repair damaged ecosystems. That technology would be incredibly valuable to many worlds in the Confederacy, Jacob said. William's expression hardened further. It's not for export. The damage to Earth came from treating technology as something separate from nature. We've learned to integrate the two. Their discussion was interrupted by an alarm that sounded throughout the complex. William pressed a small device on his wrist, listened to a message, then looked gravely at Olivia. Multiple ships have entered Earth orbit, he announced. They appear to be human colony vessels. The room fell silent. Catherine felt her heart racing. The implications were enormous. Colony ships returning to Earth after generations away. How is that possible? She asked. The colonies have no reason to come back. John, who had been quiet during the meal, spoke up. Actually, they do. When we activated our global systems and revealed ourselves to your research vessel, we also sent a signal. A beacon that's been dormant for 150 years. Olivia nodded. The Exodus leaders knew we remained behind. Before they left, we made an agreement. If Earth ever recovered enough to support large-scale human life again, we would send a signal. The first colony ships carried that knowledge, passed down through generations. You're inviting them to return, Catherine whispered, understanding dawning. Earth is awakening, Olivia said simply. It's time for humanity to come home. William's communication device chimed again. His expression grew concerned as he listened to the message. The Confederacy has also dispatched additional ships, he said, including 2 Aquarian battlecruisers. Dr. Krill's skin changed color slightly, the Aquarian equivalent of turning pale. My species has always viewed humanity with some concern. If Earth is truly revitalized with advanced technology. Jacob stood up, suddenly looking very official. I need to contact my superiors immediately. This situation is developing beyond my diplomatic authority. Olivia rose as well, her calm demeanor unshaken. Of course, but understand this. Earth is our home. We stayed when others left. We healed it when others abandoned it, and we will defend it if necessary. As they walked back toward the shuttle, Catherine noticed the mood in the underground city had changed. People moved with more purpose, and she saw what appeared to be defensive preparations beginning. John walked beside her, his face thoughtful. Everything is about to change, he said quietly. For both our peoples. Catherine nodded. The galaxy thought humans were scattered and weakened. No one expected to find Earth not just surviving but thriving. The truth, John replied, is that we never left. Earth just went to sleep for a while and now it's waking up. The space above Earth grew crowded in the days that followed. Colony ships arrived one after another, massive vessels that had once carried humans away from their dying homeworld. Now they returned, drawn by a signal many had thought would never come. Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the colony ship Homeward, staring at the blue planet through the main viewport. As captain of one of the largest ships from the Proxima Centauri colonies, he had been raised on stories of Earth, a lost paradise that humanity had been forced to abandon. Never in his 43 years had he imagined he would see it with his own eyes. Orbital position secured, his first officer reported. We're holding at the coordinates provided by Earth Control. Earth Control. The very concept seemed impossible, just days ago. Yet here they were, receiving communications from a planet thought to be empty of human life for generations. Any word from the other colony ships? Daniel asked, watching as another massive vessel moved into position nearby. 7 ships have arrived so far, said the communications officer. 5 more are expected within the next 48 hours. The Confederacy has established a temporary command station and is requesting all captains attend an emergency council. Daniel nodded. The situation was unprecedented. For 150 years, humans had lived as a spacefaring species, scattered across dozens of colony worlds. The loss of Earth was the defining trauma of their collective history. Its apparent resurrection threatened to upend everything. In the observation lounge of the Confederacy station, representatives from across the galaxy gathered. Daniel found himself seated between Catherine Grant, the human academic who had made first contact with the Earthkeepers, and a nervous-looking Aquarian diplomat. Commander Alara Vex called the meeting to order. "We face an unprecedented situation," she began. "Earth, long classified as an abandoned recovery world, is revealed to be home to a significant human population with highly advanced technology. Technology they've hidden from the Confederacy," added the Aquarian diplomat, his gills fluttering with agitation. "In violation of numerous treaties." Catherine leaned forward. "The Earthkeepers were never signatories to those treaties. The Exodus leadership knew of their existence but agreed to keep it secret." A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. Daniel watched their reactions with interest. The colony humans seemed stunned but eager, while the alien representatives appeared concerned, even fearful. "Captain Hayes," Commander Vex addressed him directly. "Your colony ship was one of the first to respond to the signal. Did the leadership of Proxima Centauri know about the Earthkeepers?" Daniel chose his words carefully, not the general population. But yes, there were stories. Records passed down through certain families. The knowledge that some had stayed behind, with a promise to signal if Earth ever recovered. "And what do the colonies want now?" asked William Carter, who represented Earth Security Council at the meeting. "To come home," Daniel said simply. "Or at least to see the home our ancestors left behind." William's expression remained neutral. "Earth cannot support an immediate return of billions of humans. The recovery is significant but still ongoing. We're not talking about mass migration," Daniel clarified, "but connection, exchange, perhaps limited settlement over time." The meeting continued for hours as representatives debated the implications. Some colony leaders embraced the idea of reconnecting with Earth, while others expressed anger at being kept in the dark about the Earthkeepers' existence. The alien members of the Confederacy seemed most concerned about the sudden shift in human standing within the galactic community. After the formal discussions ended, Daniel found Catherine in a quiet corner of the station, looking down at Earth. "It's beautiful," he said, joining her at the viewport. "Different from the images in our historical archives." "Greener," Catherine nodded. "The Earthkeepers have done remarkable work. Their environmental restoration programs have reversed damage we thought would take millennia to heal naturally." "And their technology?" advanced in ways that developed separately. From colony tech, she replied. They focused on integration with natural systems rather than conquest of space. Daniel considered this. The colonies went one way, developing faster than light travel, expanding outward. Earth went another, healing and growing inward. Two paths of human evolution. Catherine agreed, now converging again. Their conversation was interrupted as alarms sounded throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed in the corridors. Attention, all personnel, announced the station's AI. Multiple vessels approaching, identified as Aquarian fleet ships. Daniel and Catherine rushed to the command center where chaos had erupted. On the main screen, they could see a formation of sleek, blue-tinted ships moving into position around Earth's orbit. What's happening? Daniel demanded. Commander Vex looked grim. The Aquarian Empire claims Earth has violated ancient treaties by developing weapons technology in secret. They're demanding immediate inspection of all Earthkeeper facilities. On a separate screen, Olivia Martinez's face appeared from the surface below. We will not allow foreign powers to dictate terms on our world, she stated firmly. Earth has the right to protect itself. The Aquarians have always been uncomfortable with human expansion, Catherine whispered to Daniel. Earth's revival represents their worst fears, a united human homeworld with advanced technology. The Aquarian fleet commander's image replaced Olivia's on the screen. His scaled face showed no emotion as he delivered his message. Earth will submit to inspection or face quarantine enforcement. You have 6 hours to comply. William Carter stepped forward. This is absurd. Earth was never party to those treaties. We developed our technology independently for our own survival. Nevertheless, the Aquarian commander replied, the threat must be assessed. As tensions escalated, Daniel noticed something odd. The colony ships which had been holding their assigned positions began to move. Without coordination or apparent command, they were repositioning themselves in a protective formation around Earth. What are you doing? Commander Vex demanded. Return to your designated coordinates immediately. Daniel checked his own ship's status and found his first officer had moved the Homeward into position without waiting for orders. On the communication channels, other colony captains were declaring their support for Earth. We left Earth once, Daniel said, understanding the impulse that drove his fellow captains. We won't abandon it again. The Aquarian commander's image flickered as he received reports of the colony ship's movements. This is a Confederacy matter. Colony vessels will disperse or be considered hostile. William Carter's expression changed then, a slight smile touching his lips. It seems humanity remembers where it came from even after all these years. On screens throughout the station, new readings appeared as Earth's defense systems activated. Energy signatures, unlike anything the Confederacy had cataloged, began to register across the planet's surface. What is that? Commander Vex asked, studying the readings with concern. Catherine remembered something Olivia had told her during their first meeting. They said Earth needed to heal first. I think we're about to find out what that means. The Aquarian fleet moved into attack formation. Their blue-tinted ships spread out in a precise pattern, weapon systems powering up. On the Confederacy station, diplomats and representatives argued frantically, trying to prevent what looked like an inevitable conflict. This is madness, Catherine said, watching the displays with growing horror. Earth has done nothing aggressive. They simply existed in secret. Daniel Hayes stood beside her, his eyes fixed on the tactical screens. Colony ships continued to position themselves between Earth and the Aquarian fleet, acting without central coordination. It was as though some ancient instinct had awakened in every human captain, a need to protect the homeworld. The Aquarians have always feared human potential, Commander Vex explained quietly. In their cultural mythology, land-dwelling species are seen as inherently destructive. Earth's recovery contradicts everything they believe about humans. William Carter's voice came through the communication system. We are activating planetary defense protocols. All Confederacy personnel are advised to maintain a safe orbit. Defensive protocols? Commander Vex repeated, looking concerned. What exactly does that mean? No one had an answer, but they soon got to see for themselves. Across Earth's surface, a network of energy signatures began to pulse in rhythmic patterns. The readings defied conventional analysis, neither purely technological nor entirely natural. On the main view screen, Olivia Martinez appeared, her face calm despite the crisis. For generations, we've worked to heal our world, not just survive on it. What the Aquarians and the Confederacy fail to understand is that Earth itself has awakened. As she spoke, something remarkable happened. The planet's oceans began to glow with a soft blue light, visible even from orbit. Forest regions pulsed with green energy that spread in wave-like patterns across continents. It was as if the entire planet had become a single, coordinated organism. "What are we seeing?" Daniel whispered, awestruck by the display. Catherine remembered her conversations in the underground city. The symbiotic nanotechnology. Mary Peterson said they developed machines that work with nature. I think they've integrated their defense systems with Earth's biosphere itself." The Aquarian commander's voice cut through the awed silence. "Earth will power down all defense systems immediately, or we will take necessary action to neutralize the threat." In response, tendrils of energy began to rise from Earth's atmosphere. Luminous streams of blue-green light that reached toward orbit like giant fingers. They didn't approach the colony ships or the Confederacy station, instead creating a complex web of energy above the planet. Lisa Crawford, Earth's communications director, broadcast on all frequencies. "We offer peace to all who come to Earth with peaceful intentions, but we will defend our home if attacked. This is not a threat, but a simple statement of fact." The Aquarian ships fired warning shots, energy blasts aimed at empty space near Earth's energy field. The response was immediate and stunning. The tendrils of light absorbed the energy completely, growing brighter and more extensive with each blast. "They're using the attacks to power their defenses," Commander Vex realized. "Every shot makes them stronger." The Aquarian fleet halted their attack, clearly reassessing their strategy. On the diplomatic channels, frantic discussions were taking place between Confederacy officials and the Aquarian High Command. Catherine turned to Daniel. "This changes everything. The balance of power in the galaxy just shifted dramatically." Daniel nodded slowly. For generations, humans have been seen as refugees, scattered, homeless, dependent on the goodwill of other species. Now Earth stands, revealed not as a dead world but as perhaps the most advanced planet in the Confederacy. On the station, representatives from various species huddled together, discussing the implications. The human colony delegates stood apart, many of them openly emotional at seeing their ancestral home not only alive, but demonstrating power beyond anything they had developed in their centuries among the stars. After what seemed like hours, the Aquarian fleet began to withdraw, moving to a higher orbit but maintaining their formation. On the communication channels, the Confederacy president herself appeared, speaking from the central government station light years away. "We recognize Earth as a sovereign world," she announced formally. "All species will respect its territorial integrity while we negotiate new treaties that reflect the changed reality." Cheers erupted from the colony representatives. Catherine felt tears in her eyes. Tears of relief, but also of pride. Humanity had split into two paths a century and a half ago, and now those paths were converging again. In the days that followed, small delegations from the colony ships were permitted to land on Earth. Catherine accompanied Daniel and representatives from 5 major colony worlds as they stepped onto the surface of humanity's birthplace for the first time. The air was clean and sweet. They stood in a meadow outside one of the surface entrances to Denver Arc, looking at mountains in the distance and a sky more blue than any simulation could capture. "My great-grandmother told stories about Earth," Daniel said softly. "She was born just after the Exodus, but her parents remembered. They said the air smelled like hope. I never understood what that meant until now." Olivia Martinez and John Reynolds greeted them at the entrance to the underground city. "Welcome home," Olivia said simply. "Is it home?" asked one of the colony representatives. "After so long away?" John smiled. "Home isn't just where you were born. It's where you belong. Some of us belonged here, healing Earth. Others belonged among the stars, ensuring humanity's survival. Both paths were necessary. They walked together into the underground city, but plans were already being made to establish surface settlements. The colony ships would not all stay. Many humans had built lives on distant worlds they now considered home, but the connection had been re-established. Earth was no longer a memory or a myth, but a living world. In a garden at the heart of Denver Arc, Catherine watched as colony children played with Earth children, sharing stories and experiences from their vastly different lives. Despite the century and a half of separation, they found common ground easily, as children always do. They assumed humans were dead, she said to John, who stood nearby observing the scene, or at least scattered and weakened. A reasonable assumption, he replied, but they forgot something important about humans. What's that? John smiled, watching as the planet's defense network gently pulsed beneath their feet, integrated with all life on Earth in a way no one had thought possible. We adapt, we survive, and when we work with nature instead of against it, we thrive in ways no one could predict. Above them, through special viewing panels in the cavern ceiling, they could see stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. Among those stars were human colonies, Confederacy worlds, and countless unexplored systems. But at the center of it all, once again, was Earth, awake, alive, and ready to rejoin the galaxy on its own terms.